Hypocritical idiots mock conspiracy theorists and their theories while being conspiracy theorists themselves, for believing in the theory of conspiracy by the Black Hand triggering World War I. What these idiots are against isn't the idea of there being a conspiracy, but the idea of believing something unpopular. Weak minds jump on bandwagons and require the comfort of the herd. The mainstream history says that there was a conspiracy. So this is a theory of conspiracy, of a secret group, the Black Hand, plotting to assassinate this guy, who, by the way, was a Templar, a Mason of a high degree. And I proved that Masons, originally Templars, under Jewish leadership, conquered the entire world in this series here. A conspiracy theory, they say, is an explanation for something, invoking a conspiracy by sinister and powerful groups, often political in motivation, when other explanations are more probable. This is a stupid definition because you're adding to the definition what isn't necessary. When other explanations are more probable is not a necessary part of the definition. It's actually not. It's not a universal element. For there to be a conspiracy theory is just a theory of conspiracy, period. That's all you need. It's an explanation, a theory of a conspiracy, something that involves this. That's all you need. You don't need that, to define it as, by the way, this has to be wrong. No, it isn't necessarily wrong, because you yourself say, Wikipedia, you yourself say that this conspiracy theory is the best explanation. So they contradict themselves. Of course, Wikipedia is written by different people. But, the final word in Wikipedia is the liberal majority. At least in English. I don't know if in Arabic that's the case, but, liberals with the same herd mentality of liberalism, that poison, they dominate Wikipedia. They have their say as the final word, though you can edit it. You need their approval. So they contradict each other. They contradict themselves. If a conspiracy theory is by definition inadequate and inferior, then why are you a conspiracy theorist? You hypocrites. Then they say the term has a negative connotation, implying that the appeal to conspiracy is based on prejudice or insufficient evidence. But that's not always the case. Don't you have evidence for this? Don't you have evidence? I believe that this is the case. I believe in this official conspiracy theory because it makes perfect sense and I don't see a better explanation. And it's totally plausible that people want to kill someone. That's totally plausible. History is full of such cases. And if they want to get away with it, they would try to do it underhandedly, in secret. That makes perfect sense. That's why I accept this theory. Of course, maybe the truth is something else. I'm not going to bet my life on it. But that's why I accept this. So, where was I? So, it doesn't require, the definition for this doesn't mean that it has to have insufficient evidence. That's not necessary. It could have plenty of evidence. And they themselves agree with that conspiracy theory that they promote, so they can't really say that it necessarily implies this. Although it usually does when people use the term, that's what they're implying. Then they say that it's not the same as a conspiracy. They say it's a hypothetical. And then they say this nonsense. It refers to a hypothesized conspiracy with specific characteristics, such as in opposition to the mainstream consensus among those people, such as scientists or historians who are qualified to evaluate its accuracy. This is one of the stupidest things I've ever read in my life. What they're saying is, you are not allowed to think. That's what they're saying here. You're not allowed to think. Now, if you need a PhD to have a point, or to be right, then how did the first man, because it was a man, to get his PhD when there was no one with a PhD to give a PhD? That proves, the origin of PhD giving proves that you don't need a PhD, you not smart people. So they commit a disgusting ad populum fallacy, which is to the people, in other words, to the majority. In other words, if you're not in the majority of experts, if you're not with them, you must be wrong. Well, that's absolute stupidity. History proves it. And I'm going to give an example of that later, Carol. This is also a stupid ad verecundiam fallacy. Ad verecundiam means to the authorities, to the experts, or so-called experts. As if they can be wrong. As if they were infallible. Scientists infallible? History proves otherwise. For example, the best scientists of their time were Nazis. And they were obviously wrong. So you contradict yourselves. Saying you should trust in them mindlessly. Oh, by the way, except these guys. Right. Special pleading. And historians have also always been wrong in one thing or another. For example, the historians today in Japan will deny, in many cases probably, will deny Japanese war crimes. They say victors write the history books, winners write the history books. Well, not always. Japan lost World War II, yet they write their own history books, don't they? And they gloss over Japanese crimes or omit mention of them. Or say that that's just a conspiracy theory, even though there's proof of it. We're qualified to evaluate its accuracy. So, what they're saying is, you're not allowed to think for yourself. This is also an argument from incredulity fallacy, because they're saying there's no way you can be right and they're wrong. There's no way a single person who is free to think, there's no way one free thinker can be right and the world wrong. Scientists are paid shills. They're paid to promote a certain agenda. They're given money to do research to favor a certain conclusion. Anyone who believes that scientists, PSYentists, are necessarily right is an absolute idiot who doesn't know anything about history and who doesn't think for themselves. They're an absolute idiot. And also, scientists don't always agree. There's no such thing as a total consensus. That's a lie. What that would mean is just that they drown out alternative scientists' opinions, like creationists. By the way, see my video, Proof the Bible is the Truth, Prophetic Power Unrivaled, where I prove the Bible is the truth. The Bible prophesied that Europe would conquer the world. Back in the days of the Babylonian Empire, that was prophesied. And it turned out exactly as the Bible said. Even the mention of strong iron, great iron, steel was prophesied too. So by steel, Europe would conquer the world. And that is exactly what happened. So I proved the Bible right. And that's against a consensus of scientists or historians who say that the Bible is wrong, that it's just a myth. See also my video proving that the Bible is not based on plagiarized pagan stuff. So this is absolute idiocy. You're not qualified to think for yourself. Only an idiot would submit to this assertion. Only an absolute fool, an imbecile, would agree with that. Translation, you are not allowed to think for yourself. Idiots. Idiots. Just what the doctor ordered. Get some more cigarettes, you idiots. Because after all, you're too stupid to think for yourself. Now, the go-to strawman fallacy, because they love fallacies, as I've already proven. The go-to strawman fallacy is to depict anyone who questions governments, anyone who thinks for themselves, as this type of person, a tinfoil hatter. Obviously, I don't wear a tinfoil hat. Obviously, I don't agree with this, with this nonsense. I mean, if I were to put my head in a microwave, I would prefer to have a tinfoil around it than not, but I will never put my head in a microwave oven. You know, so this is what they like to do. They like to ridicule people who think for themselves. You know, the idiots who refuse to question paid shills, these drug dealers, these doctors, these paid shill scientists and such, wear nooses around their necks because they're so stupid. Look at how ridiculous they are. Look how stupid the world is, the mainstream is, idiots. You mock others as idiots? If they're idiots, how much more are you an idiot? So the BBC shouldn't be talking about history nor truth when they lie about history. You can't trust these idiots. I plan to do a video on how Alex Jones and David Icke are shills, by the way. I would put them into this video, but it's better to give them more attention with the title itself. Check out my videos proving conspiracy theories about the world. Like this one about how Catholicism was an invention of the Jews to counterfeit the truth and mislead people away from the true Jesus. And this video where there's a conspiracy of putting atheist propaganda in video games to mislead dumb people into believing that powerful civilizations were atheists, no such thing except North Korea and China. But they got their power not by atheist genius. There is no atheist genius. They got it by creationist genius. For example, the Russian Empire was hijacked by atheists. that glory and power was achieved by creationists, not atheists. They just harnessed it for evil, mass evil. Not that the Russians were good, they were never good, but atheists went full retard with that power. And also this series on Masonic corporations and some other stuff related to Masonry. Almost no one sees my videos, but I just want the truth out there to help a few. Better than for the sea of lies called the internet to remain a total sea of lies. Let's have some light in the midst of the darkness. And this series, Islam was invented by Jews, where I think in part 3 I get around to proving the title, but I wanted to cover more about Islam and how it's like a mafia. And I never heard of this conspiracy before because I came to this conclusion by myself, because I think for myself, and I'm not afraid to do this. But you know, other people would never even consider thinking about this because they're afraid of what others think about them. But I'm free, so I'm not a coward like you people who are afraid to come to your own conclusions because you're afraid of ostracism. And then this video, global warming is a lie. I'm not the only one who believes this. But even if I were the only one who believes it, that doesn't matter, because the truth doesn't depend on popularity. Popularity is totally irrelevant to the truth, other than the fact that lies are more likely to be popular, because lies are easier to believe, because they don't require sacrifice as much as the truth. For the truth, I have sacrificed my family. Now, I didn't burn them on an altar, but I did sacrifice being with them, which is pretty easy to do because they're selfish and disgusting. But to be a liar is easy, because there are many other liars to hang out with. The world is full of liars, and if you want to fit in, you got to be a liar. Or a non-free thinker, like these Brits, like these barbarians. I got so much flack from just a few views on this video and the one in Spanish. I did the one in Spanish first, because Spanish speakers are more fanatical about football in general. It's a religion there more than it is in Britannistan. How much hatred people have because you prove that they follow nonsense and that their traditions are stupid. And I said it mildly, but you can't question what they're taught. Or they go rabid dog on you. They go woof woof and bark bark if they could on you. They're dogs. And then I proved that pool table is also the devil. The symbolism in it. So would I play this? No, because I know what it actually means. Now, people who don't know the meaning and they play it, I'm not saying you're sinning by it. I'm just saying you're blind and you don't know what you're doing. Almost no one wants the truth. They want only comfort from being part of a herd. Herd mentality. Population, almost everyone. You herd. You herd. You animals. What I do for the very few who actually care. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth, there is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way, they are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one, you're all worthless. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, God rejects you.